This is Rare Media. To whom it concerns, welcome to the panel. Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to this edition of the panel on Bealtaine, the 1st of May. And we are a Celtic country, so we'll be celebrating and talking about Bealtaine. That's one of the, and Morgan people who know Irish. Bale is your Irish for a mouth, and Tinna is a fire, the mouth of the fire. So it's the beginning of the summer season, and you know all that rubbish. There you go again. And we'll be discussing many other things during the show. It's a loose agenda we have. Whatever is on your mind, belt away with it. Good evening, Mary Honan.
Hi, everyone.
Good evening, Morgan Baker. Welcome again.
Good evening. Hello.
Good evening, Tony Browne.
Oh, I silenced him a minute ago. I had to silence him. Where's he gone to? Tony Browne.
Good evening, Neil Murray, and welcome.
Hello, how are we? How are we doing?
And my name is Pat Barry, and you're all very welcome. And before we start, we have something. We have Neil, I believe it's your birthday, is it?
Tomorrow, I'm 26.
Tomorrow.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
I can hear anything. I can't hear anything.
Happy birthday.
I can't hear anything.
Nothing.
He's back to them.
Can you hear Tony?
I couldn't hear anything. We better have Pat, and she in control of the thing. We were on our own here now. There was no muting.
Pat is in control. Pat is in control of it. I had to mute you while you was playing the introduction because you were talking and it was coming out over the introduction.
It was a happy birthday. So I'm 55 tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm 55, and I feel it. So you know you're getting old. We know we're getting old. We don't clean our teeth. We count them.
And
why do you feel it in your head? Why do you have a hat on? You afraid of being bald?
It's because I've so much hair. I'm going through a bad patch.
Anyway, Neil, I was looking at your profile, and you had some information about a person who was sleeping in their car.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. It's fucking roasting it. I can't take the fucking heat. I really can't. Done a video last night. Trevor sleeping in the car for 2 years. I put it out there. He's after getting lots of people onto him, wanting to help him. A hell of a lot of people wanting to help him. He's sorted. Robbie from Dublin Live will be getting in touch with him. Niall Boylan will also be getting in touch with him just to talk to him, but he is sorted. They want to talk to him. And there's an independent film company who wants to do a documentary on him. For the last 2 years he's been sleeping in his car. This guy has a law degree, you know, he's a wonderful man. He wants to thank everybody. Thumbs up. He wants to thank every single person that looked at that video, and he wants to personally thank everybody that got in touch with me to help him. And I want to personally thank everybody. I think I've personally thanked them already, but just in case I missed you, I want to personally thank everybody for getting in touch with me to help him. There is people out there that want to help, and I want to thank everybody as well who commented on that and who watched the video. The chap is over the moon, and he just wants to thank everybody who watched the video as well. He's over the moon, he's delighted, he's sorted, he's now a happy man, and I'm very, very happy. And I thank you all so much. I really do. Thank you.
Well done, Neil. Of course, that situation that you
hello, can you hear me now?
We just can't hear you when the video is playing. Everyone goes silent when the video.
Oh, I didn't know. Sorry, I didn't know even though the video was on. Sorry.
I see you talking away, and I was saying he doesn't.
Just let us all know, this is my very, very first time on a video call like this. It's my very first time. I'm just gonna let you know, okay? So if I'm anyway stupid, don't worry about it, because I'm not. Anyway.
The topic you touched on is replicated throughout the country. I'm sure, Morgan, there's a lot of homeless people like that in the United States as well. People who cannot afford their house or their accommodation, and they're forced to either sleep in their car or couch surfing, which is a new term that's come in recent years. And we are no different here in Ireland because, as we know, there's an incredible chronic shortage of houses in Ireland, both to buy and to rent. So it's a disaster. It's a disaster in the country, you know, and it's leading it's a disaster, and it's leading to an awful lot of unhappiness and a lot of suicides as well, and people and despair and no hope as well. We were in Dublin the weekend at the march, and we were speaking to a mixture of people who were marching for different reasons. They were marching because of the cost of living. They were marching because of the housing. They were marching because of the health crisis. They were marching because of the social policies of the government. I mean, all the things we've been discussing in the program the last couple of weeks. There's a wide range of people on the march. Really,
what were you going to say there, Neil? Sorry.
Only people like ourselves.
No, just like you were at the march that we all know what's going on in the country. Like, you know, I talk about it a bit, like on the platforms and all that. We all know there's 15,400 homeless. You know, these homeless don't have to be homeless. There's billions and billions been spent on, you know. Look, before we go any further about the migrants, we all know it's a sticky. It's an awkward topic. We need migrants in here. We do need them. We need them with our tools, and we need them with our skills, and we need carpenters, plumbers, electricians, doctors, nurses. We need all them. If we didn't have them here, we'd be in an awful lot of trouble. Cleaners, McDonald's workers, Burger King. We need all them. But when you have lots and lots of people coming in and they're standing around corners, they're getting bored, they're getting bold, and this is what happens. And they get nothing to do, then they start doing something, and we see what's going on the platforms there. And it's gone crazy. It's gone stupid. Nearly all the hotels is booked out in the country, not far from them. A lot of B&Bs, a lot of Trabolgan has gone, Mosney has gone. We know that. I'd say Pebble Beach Homes is probably next. There's violence, there's rapes, there's this, there's that. There's a lot of stuff going on in this country that has never gone on. And I'm getting messages beyond belief, probably 100 a week, of people from around these towns in Ireland explaining why they won't go out to the shop. They won't go to the bingo, they won't go to the pub, they won't go to the chipper, and telling me of things that's happening. Now, I'm not telling you they're telling the truth. I'm not telling you they're telling the lie. I'm only telling you what I'm getting in. That's all I'm saying. And it's gone absolutely frightening. It's frustrating. People are very, very angry at this government, and this government is not listening. They never will listen. They even said about the protest the other day. A lot of people going to that protest had to get their children minded, had to spend a lot of money to get in there, had to try and get in there in the car, try and get a car park, spend money on car parks. A lot of people had to bring extra medication for standing around with their back. Maybe their backs were sore, maybe their legs were sore, and there's no toilets there. A lot of people went through that pain, and Micheál Martin said the next day he wasn't going to listen to them. And that's an ignorant man, if you ask me.
That was terrible. That was just so deaf, really, to people. You don't have to agree with somebody, and you don't have to share their political views or even their social views. But the minute you start calling people right-wing and left-wing, you're basically saying, don't listen to them. They're not worthy of being listened to. Whereas in actual fact, when you listen to people who you'd normally never listen to, you'd be amazed at how you find that level ground. You find, I find myself, I'm a centrist, so I can see, I try to see both sides, but and there's some things I'd be very left on, and other things that I'd be quite conservative on. And if you're going to be speaking in an echo chamber to people who just only share the same view as you, you're never going to learn why do they think like this, why do they like that. You're living in an ivory tower thinking that there isn't poverty in this country. You know, and
well, that guy, I'm sorry, people, if anybody wants to get in, just cut me off, because I tend to go on a bit. Just cut me off. But that guy in the car the other day, I had to cut his, when I was talking to him on the phone, I cut that call on TikTok, right? Because near the end of it, he did say, Neil, it's not only me. I'm parked in Lusk car park now, and there's 2 or 3 cars beside me. One of them has their towels out, drying them off. So I said, okay, no problem. But I cut that because I wanted to get him dealt with first. If I had to let that go on, people would have said, Asher, look, there's a lot of people involved in that, and I mean, I got out for them. So I did say I'll deal with them later in time. But how am I going to do? I know there's many people in cars, and I got a lot of people wanting to help that chap, and he got sorted within a day, within a few hours probably. So I'm trying to do something.
What do you think?
Sometimes, you see, you don't want to speak about these things in public because I feel embarrassed being an Irishman, being anybody that, and I'm sure, Robin, will be the same for you, if you know of people who are worse off than yourself, who are living under appalling conditions. It is embarrassing. It's a reflection on all of us that not everybody is pulled up. I'm sure, Morgan, there's a unique view from students' accommodation has been very, very tough to get as well. Have you found that yourself?
I have, yeah, and well, I mean, my own situation. I'm going to be moving at the end of this month, and I can already tell that the housing search is extremely difficult. But they have here at UL the what's called a commuter hub. So there are students who will commute in from long distances from home because there's just not enough accommodation. And the sad thing is, there's a lot of students who will get on-campus accommodation, and they don't actually stay in the accommodation. And in fact, a lot of times they'll leave early during the week, or on the weekends they'll go back home, and yet there are students who actually need the housing, would be here all week, the weekend. And yeah, I mean, it's just really sad.
Now, as Mary probably agree, the march that we went up to last Saturday was labelled by RT, or National Broadcast, as a far right march, which I sent an email about it to the reporter, who I know may not have been there at all. He may have spoken to nobody who was there. Well, we spoke to a number of people.
Pat here from their media. This is Michael from Laffrey, another attendee at this march today. Why are you here, Michael?
Why am I here? I'm supposed to show support, and what we're doing is we're seeking better for our country here in Ireland. We want the best for the people here. That's the main goal.
Yeah, and I suppose really, like everybody else, the commonality of the theme that I was speaking to a lot of people this morning was that they're against the social policies being pursued by this government. They're not correct, the way they're leading people into the country, the way the social services that we have ourselves are in rag order.
They are, yeah. I suppose the biggest worry for people are the iPass system currently, where you have people setting up properties in local communities and filling them with refugees, and the locals, fair enough if they're genuine refugees, but the locals aren't told anything about them. They're not introduced. A lot of the time it happens in the blink of an eye. I think that's the biggest problem, along with it's costing thousands of millions every year.
And what's the situation like in Galway?
Same, yeah.
iPass is being imposed rather than being collaborated on and discussed as one normal society would do.
Of course, yeah. Like, I was talking to, my sister was talking to a mother, 38-year-old mother from Glenamady just yesterday. And these would just be normal people. And an old police station in Glenamady was turned into an iPass centre. It happened overnight. She wasn't told anything. And now her children, she's afraid to let them go walking on the street. And fair enough, if the local community got a leaflet that said, these are the people here, these are the names, this is where they came from, maybe this is a bit of a background check on them. Nothing.
No, I'm saying that this is the issue for people. They don't know who these people are.
It's terrible. Yeah.
They don't know where they're from.
That was kind of roughly the idea of what was going on at the marches. But I was shocked by the so-called compassionate people on the other side when Ezra Levant, he's the founder and he's the owner of Rebel News in Canada. And they came over to broadcast at it, and I can't think of his name. Pat, you know him, but I'm only 4'10". This guy is the same size as me, but he's a poisoned, evil monster of a little.
Yeah, you were telling me about him today, Mary.
I could not believe what he shouted at Ezra, "I'm not going to speak to Jews." And he said, you can speak to me through, you can speak to my audience who are mostly non-Jews, And he said, no, it would mean I'd have to speak to you. And this is, and everyone behind him were almost agreeing with him. It was just terrible to listen to people who are supposed to be saying that they're compassionate, but were anything but. It was embarrassing for Ireland. But Pat says he knows him. Neil, you said you knew him too.
I don't know him. I know of him.
I know of him too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if he's not reprimanded for that, will people copy that and continue saying things like that and knowing they're going to get away with it?
Well, this is the situation. I suppose we find ourselves in. Most protests are peaceful.
It was terrible.
There was about 20,000 in our march anyway. The march we were on, and it was very good fun, very good conversation we had, and the what did I say? It was very upbeat. The message was very upbeat, you know, and I thought it was very good myself.
Our march was very good.
How was the march for? I saw nothing. My screen went blank for the whole thing.
The march.
How are you, Tony?
What are you doing? Who are you? Tell me this. What was the march about again?
Street with my kids and feel safe like I did when I was younger. I don't think that's too much to ask for anybody who has grown up, spent their entire lives in this country, or people that, you know, are people up and down from the country that visit Dublin for the day shouldn't have to worry about coming down. They shouldn't have to worry about walking from Connolly Station to O'Connell Street or whatever it is. It's not too much to ask for Ireland to be normal again. And everybody here, all you have to do is look around you. The Customs House was full and there was still people at the Ambassador Theatre. Yes. That's how many people are here today.
You know, they tried to call it, some on the media, an anti-immigrant march or whatever. It wasn't. It was anti-government.
It was all about the government, yeah.
The government, you know, it's protesting the government not supplying enough houses and not treating people with respect. There's, you know, it's a thorn in people's sides when you hear this phrase that we're a first world country and that we're one of the richest countries in Europe. I don't think any of us are seeing it. I'm sure Morgan isn't seeing it as a student, the wealth of Ireland. Can you hear me?
In what context? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you're not seeing the wealth of Ireland here in this country, and neither am I, and neither I'm sure is Pat or Neil or Tony. So, and the government keep telling us we're a wealthy country. Where is all that money going?
We are wealthy. I don't know anybody homeless.
Companies.
I don't know one person that's homeless. I don't.
But you don't get out and about a lot, do you?
Joke me. I was out all day today. I'm out every day. I'm always in town. I'm going to lectures about 3 nights a week.
I don't know anybody right now this minute personally, but I know an awful lot of people who are homeless but who are not counted because they're being sleeping in their friends' houses. They're being sleeping on their friends' couches. That's what I mean.
They're the hidden homeless. People who are sleeping on their brother's couches or sleeping in their father's a room in their father's house. Because
do you know Mary that's homeless? Do you know somebody homeless?
Do I know somebody that's homeless? I actually do, but they're technically they wouldn't be considered because they're living in a room below their father because their rent went up to €1,700 from Dublin, and you're actually sharing the podcast with the person in question, Tony.
No, I don't know anyone homeless anyway. And why was that fella sleeping in the car? That's what I'm beginning.
2 years ago, himself and his wife, they just more or less fell out, and he ended up on the street. He couldn't afford a house, He couldn't afford rent. And
Why did he leave her?
I don't know whether he left her or she left him, but it was 2 years ago it happened, and he ended up staying in the car.
Why does anybody leave anybody? These things happen in life. This is called life. This is called life. Marriages break up, and by and large, you're right, Neil. The man, generally speaking, is made homeless. He has to.
Yeah, he's made homeless. Yeah,
he's forced to leave the house. Yeah.
What I'll try and do is I've a lot of private messages there. I'll try and print them all out for next week and look at some that I might be able to get away with reading out to you of homeless people texting me, like, you know, as well. And people, like, you know, after splitting up, I have lots of them, like, you know, that I get privately in. Some, don't get me wrong, some I don't answer back, because if you answer back, they'll want to keep, you know, texting, and which I want to do something, but I know I won't be able to, and it just hurts me. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I know that this is the panel here. We're here every Thursday night, and the information is along the screen there. If you want to participate anytime, you can email us, and you can text us or whatever. The information is there, email. And also, all the programs are up on our YouTube channel as well, learnmedia.tv. And press the red button on the right-hand side to subscribe to our channel. We very much appreciate it. We are not all serious. We do have time. We have funny clips to laugh at, you know, and just so that we don't get too down on ourselves. My favorite man.
Just about had enough of you.
Well, you wouldn't say that if I came with fries and a medium drink. You know, medium, the size between small and you.
Why must you always be so negative?
Why did you cross the road? I'm a natural-born salesman.
Excuse me.
Hey, do I come to the hag shop bother you when you're working?
Good, now you can put that metal plate back in your head. Although, that's a lot like putting a lid on an empty jar.
Or a bra on you.
Question 2. Who would you rather spend the night with? A, your wife, or B?
B.
Fun of our way! 2, 4, 6, 8, go get fun of our way!
1, 2, 3, 4. You're gonna fall through the floor.
This year, I am finally going to win the neighborhood decorating contest.
What, you gonna stand out front and be the little drummer boy?
You think you're going? Aren't you open?
Sorry, ma'am, but unlike your mouth, we occasionally close.
That's the wonderful Al Bundy. Do people remember him on television? You wouldn't get away with that comedy now. You remember him, Morgan, do you?
I do, yes, and the theme. Love and marriage.
Goes together like a horse. Yeah.
Do you ever consider doing a PhD on him?
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will eventually do a PhD on political correctness, and the death of humor, or humor.
That's gone.
As you knew it, like Al Bundy and the likes of Basil Fawlty and Fawlty Towers and.
Yeah. Even some of the Only Fools and Horses, when they're repeated, like, they've changed some words in them as well. The world has gone woke, it's gone mad, it's gone stupid, if you ask me. It's gone absolutely crazy. I listened to a podcast today, and she's rating her daughter as non-gender. I wouldn't fucking go there. Excuse the language, I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't go there.
When you listen to Ricky Gervais, everyone loves Gervais, even people who don't want to admit that they like. Yeah. Because you laugh at it's a nervous laughter at times when he says some of the things he says. But
it's common sense. It's common sense, like, you know, what he says it's reality. And what people, like, you know, I don't know whether people are craving for attention by you know, rating their children non-gender. Like, what is non-gender? What is non-binary? It's a fictional word where you want to rear your child as something where the child will get attention. It's going to be the wrong type of attention. You're either born with one or the other.
The English FA have officially banned transgender people from taking part in women's soccer today. They banned them.
Oh, brilliant! Brilliant!
In England,
you know, my wife was a great. You know, my wife was a great goalkeeper. I haven't scored in months.
That's a non-political joke.
Yeah, I'm gonna get away with the wife. I heard that joke, Gobshite. I heard that joke, Gobshite. Go easy, go easy.
Poor Morgan probably doesn't understand half the accents.
Yeah, I know. Morgan, what part of the state are you from?
I'm from Kansas. I'm from the Midwest.
Oh, brilliant stuff. Do you like
usually,
Trump?
No,
yeah.
My state is as red as it gets, but no, I am not a Trump. I am not a Trump man.
Right. Okay. No problem. No problem. No problem. Yeah.
The Trump, where the beginning and the end is with me and Trump is that he's a convicted criminal, and he ran several casinos into the ground, which is you would imagine to be impossible.
Isn't that lovely that we have a cast here tonight that are so varied and
But I can guarantee you, Morgan, we're all convicted criminals some part in our life. We just went.
Yeah, at least we didn't. We don't follow the Biden crime family either. You know, we were good to see the back of the Biden crime family.
Don't forget the Clintons. Don't forget the Clintons.
Exactly. I don't think you get into politics unless you've cracked a few eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think. Don't get me wrong.
Margaret, why do you think that 80 million Americans voted for Trump?
Yeah, don't say that.
Well, because people don't recognize that America is conservative. So I mean, there are a lot of people who will vote for the Republican Party no matter what. Like in my state, even though we've elected a Democrat as governor. So I mean, there are a lot of people who are conservative, and his message resonates more with them, especially in terms of cutting taxes. Versus the Democrats. They didn't like Kamala. I think there are a lot of people on the left who didn't like Kamala or Biden. And he what is it, around 78 million in 2020. So I mean, there are tens of millions of people who support Trump, his ideas. Even if maybe it's misguided and they don't understand the full consequences of what his presidency is going to mean now. I think they're going to feel the economic consequences of it now.
That'll be savvy, yes.
I think they all have very good policies, and they all have very bad policies. And it's to go with
Didn't he sign some agreement today with? I didn't look it up today.
Signed the mineral agreement
with Ukraine. You know, it's
He signed the mineral agreement with Zelensky today that peacefully puts Americans on the ground, if you like, because they'll be working there. They'll be working they'll be able to recoup some of the money that was spent. Meanwhile, there'll be Americans on the ground. So it's less likely that Putin will invade when there's Americans on the ground. But the Americans that will be on the ground will be working Americans working for the companies rather than military boots and weapons. So for me, as a pacifist, I welcome that. I just think that anyone that will actually, for so long, we had George Bush and we had Tony Blair, who brought Britain and America very, very close to a war with Iraq on the basis that they had weapons of mass destruction when they hadn't, and slaughtered the amount of people that died, innocent people that died. And
there's millions of them. You need to miss them.
Now you have Donald Trump. For all his faults, he's a man who doesn't want war, and he will. And I would rather see Americans working in the Donbass and all around that region, and mining or doing whatever is required, than having weapons and guns and military boots. That's the way I see it. I just prefer a pacifist who's out to make
shit out of Putin. Blow him up. Attack Putin and blow him up.
Well,
yeah, I don't know how somebody hasn't taken him out yet. Now I don't know how someone hasn't done that yet.
Prigozhin tried. He failed.
That was all made up, that thing, because there was nobody ever arrested for that.
Putin didn't go in for 10 years.
What?
Putin didn't go in for 10 years. For 10 years, the people of the Donbass were Russian speaking, and they were being slaughtered, and their priests,
Sure.
Russian Orthodox priests, were being slaughtered, and suddenly Poroshenko was removed from power, and Zelensky was put in, and suddenly there was a war.
There's millions
And
of
America
them out there. You wouldn't miss them. You wouldn't miss
America
them. There's millions of them.
and now it's been put. An end to the war is being put.
Well, we hope that it's the first step in many that will stop the fighting, at least, because there's over 1 million dead between both sides.
For what, Pat? For what? A piece of land?
I think Trump was right in a way when he said that the Zelensky is, you're not getting any more money for what? To prolong this war when you know you're not going to win, and it's a horrible fact. But they're not going to win. What?
Even if he was going to win, who wants to prolong a war where young women are being forced into
I'm just talking about, look, they're in there now. So as the war is going on, he's not going to win. He never was going to win at the start. Why would you kill millions, hundreds of thousands, when you know you weren't going to win at the start? Unfortunately, you have a tyrant there, huge country that's going to take you over. Nothing you can do. You've got to get. I know people say, "Well, we fight for what?" When you know you're going to lose in the end. Anyway, there's no point in doing that. Like if Mike Tyson says to me, "I'm going to fight you."
Neil, there are no winners in war. Even if they stopped in the morning and said, "Right, we've won." I mean, you've only
depends.
World War I, World War II.
It depends on the context. So there comes a time and a there comes a time and a place where you have to respect each country's sovereignty, and just like with the Second World War, when one country invades another, you have to defend yourselves. My country used to stand for. You should mention George W. Bush and all of the flawed ideals. My country used to stand for ideals of defending those who could not defend themselves. And I sympathize with pacifism, but at the same time, my country has to stand up and uphold certain types of principles, which means defending countries, even if they cannot afford to pay us back a penny, just like with the Marshall Plan afterwards, helping to rebuild Europe. My country, I think, is responsible as a global leader of helping to defend those who cannot defend themselves against aggressors.
America, since the Second World War, has invaded more countries than any other country in the world.
But why have they done that? Well, I presume they've invaded to try and stop the other countries going ahead and doing shit.
Iraq was an absolute and utter disgrace.
The first country in my memory was Vietnam.
That was
And Tony Blair, they led everyone to believe that there were weapons of mass destruction, and there weren't. They did not think there were, Tony. They knew there weren't. This is the thing. They wanted a war, and they were prepared at all costs to have a war, and it didn't matter who died.
Why did they want the war, Mary?
Well,
I don't know much about back then, but why did they want the war against Iraq? Why would they have wanted that war?
They wanted the oil.
Depends on how you look at it. So their claim, the administration claimed that they needed to use a preemptive strike to stop Saddam as an existential threat. It was they're saying it was a national security threat with weapons of mass destruction, and we needed to invade and disable these weapons or remove these weapons and also remove Saddam from power. All without UN Security Council approval, of course.
It has destabilized the whole world since the Iraq situation. Destabilized the whole world.
Well, I mean, when we think about the long-term consequences of all of it, it destabilized not just Iraq, but the entire. When we think about the refugees crisis,
the whole Middle East.
Exactly. The long-term implications were still.
Libya was never the same since.
No.
Libya was never the same and will never be the same. And people, whether everyone knew Gaddafi was Gaddafi, but people had a good lifestyle there. I know people who lived there for over 30 years. They had a good lifestyle, and then suddenly their country will never be the same again for many generations.
They didn't all have good lives there. They did not. They didn't all have good lives there. No.
Well, there was. They had.
Normally they don't over a dictator. Normally they don't over a dictator. Look at Korea. Look at China. You know, normally I don't know about Mary, but normally over a dictator they don't.
Well, I wouldn't mind living in North Korea.
I actually, sorry. I watched a documentary about your man Kim Jong-un there last week. All right.
Yeah.
And do you know the way we have children now, and they tell the parents what to do, and they tell the parents what they're going to eat, and they tell the parents what they're going to wear, and they tell the parents what type of phone they want, and the parents just give it to them. That's the way it is now. And if the child hits the parent says, "Don't worry, it's okay." Blah blah blah. I get it in the car. I hear it all. But you want to see the children over North Korea? Oh my God. Oh my God, the respect they have in that school, the uniforms, as I say, the respect, the attention, it's unbelievable. It's like back in the 70s and the 80s in Ireland.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at them and saying, maybe we need a bleeding dictator.
No, I'd rather live in Japan now. When you go on YouTube and you see the way the children in Japan and China, in their little creches, and they're all learning how to bake and how to sew and how to embroider, and they're all making little pieces of toys out of wood, and they're all learning a craft inside there, and their whole day is taken up learning something and getting involved in something creative and artistic, and they all have their little uniforms.
I learned very, very well.
Some of them serve the others during their lunch break, and the ones who are served wash up. It's just you're looking at it. What's Tony saying?
There are no caretakers. There are no caretakers in schools in Japan because the kids clean the school after themselves. They clean up after them and tidy up. So there's no need to hire cleaners.
The kids, it's as I say, the document of Kim Jong-un, he's his own. Like you don't mess with him and all that. But
the thing about North Korea, you go there. There's no confusion. There's only one photograph in the hotel rooms of one person.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
There's only one television channel and one race. So there's no confusion. Life is simple.
Yeah. You walk into my bedroom, the wife, geez, you're fucking everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, I just done all the mirrors.
Do you remember when we had You Cannot Be Serious, the radio show, and Pat used to put on at the start of every show the North Korean national anthem.
That's right, yeah. And an awful lot of people didn't know what it was till we told them, you know. It's a lovely piece of music, you know. If you can find it, Mary, to be nice. Huh?
Yeah, I was watching a program there, a documentary on the Titanic there. I know it's gone and all that, but when the iceberg cut the side of it, they had rivets, 3 million rivets or something went into that Titanic. But the rivets that was in the side of it when the iceberg took it, they weren't steel, they were like iron rivets or something. They were cheap type rivets that took it out. And it was interesting to listen to. I wondered if the iceberg had took the Titanic from the side, if them proper rivets were there. You know,
there's all speculation, but I tell you about the cat and her family that got off the boat, off the Titanic in Southampton. There's a story about that today. I was reading about it, and it's right. Yeah, there's a cat, and the cat was a mascot to keep the rats. There were a few cats to keep the rats at bay in the ship from eating the food, and one of the stevedores down below in one of the decks. Just mind the cat and look after the cat. The cat was pregnant anyway, and the cat had kittens on the boat. But when the boat docked in Southampton, Titanic, the cat and our kittens left the boat. And your man, the stevedore, noticed the cat taking off all our kittens off the boat. So he decided to pack his bag and leave as well. And we know the rest is history. And then he followed the cat and got off. The sense that the animals had, you know, the foreboding what's going to happen. So there is something in it, all right, you know. So whenever if you're ever flying again, Morgan, you could take a cat on the plane. She'll tell you whether it's safe or not.
Yeah.
Make sure it goes. That Titanic, that didn't go down well.
No. You get that sinking feeling. But there was a story in the paper during the week. You know how our government wastes money. in Palmerstown, when anyone will read about the shed, it used to be an old coffee shop in Palmerstown. The council spent €700,000 in Palmerstown Park, at Darcy Park, and the refurbishment came to 683,000, which is 127,000, and the coffee shop isn't open yet. The splurge on the tea venue might please Father Ted's brew fan, Mrs. Doyle. And anyway, this was a story that was in the newspaper during the week.
I seen that, yeah. I seen that, yeah.
€700,000 on a tea shop in Palmerstown Park. My God,
yeah.
I mean,
I wouldn't worry about it. What about all the guards going on strike? The guards
well, they are threatening on the GRA conference, the Garda Representative Association conference that was being held this time of the year, and after the conference was held in the Easter time anyway, and they said they would not provide cover for Ireland next year takes over the presidency of the European Council, and you have all these meetings about nothing really, in my opinion, carrying on. And
have they not been paid to do that?
There'll be extra security required, you know, and extra rosters, longer shifts and longer hours.
That goes with the job, surely.
It does, yeah, but they're making a statement. The Garda Commissioner's term, this is finished in October, I think. There'll be a new Garda Commissioner appointed in October or November.
They should sack the whole lot of them and get a security firm in to do it all. That would be like softening their cough then.
Morgan, what are you studying out in UL?
My program is Irish and Global Conflict History.
Oh, very good. Excellent.
So mainly 20th century.
Is that like wars and all that? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, very good,
we looked at, well, you can sort of tailor your dissertation to whichever conflict you like, but a lot of people will do either the Troubles, period of the Troubles, or some kind of Cold War or other type of global conflict. So mine is Ireland and the Cold War and why it rejected NATO membership.
Oh,
and I guess you could say why it continues to reject NATO membership.
That was Ireland, and that was after the Second World War period you're looking at, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see.
Right, yeah.
Tell me this.
So 1949 up through the 1970s is where I'm going to cover in my research.
You're not going to cover why England invaded Ireland, taking the 6 counties.
That's the big part of it. Yeah. So there's the ideological aspect, the Republican aspect of it, of rejecting membership. You can't join NATO because the United Kingdom is in it and they're still occupying the 6 counties. But then there's the non-ideological aspects of partition because the industry was based in the northern counties. So how can you join NATO and provide for your own defense and also for collective defense if you cannot produce the military and defensive equipment when the British are controlling it?
Of course, since you started, Morgan, we know that the Republic of Ireland is still in Europe and the 6 counties are not in Europe because they're under occupation by the British. So it's a position that's changed again, you know. Right. So we would at the moment we would look to Europe as our protectors, if you like, as our
I'm personally somebody who stands on the side of us not ever joining NATO. Because
can you tell me why? Yeah, I'd be curious to know why.
Clearly, because we number one, we're too small a country. We don't have an army that would be suitable to stand up. And why should Irish young boys and girls fight a war that we're never going to win, number one, but I just don't believe in war. As I said, I'm a pacifist, maybe I'm stupid, maybe it's the stupidity, but I just don't believe in fighting wars. I mean, you have young people, it's all old men that are creating the wars for young men to die.
Yeah.
And
Morgan,
I'm totally against war, and I really am totally against NATO. And our membership,
Morgan,
right or wrong.
Morgan and the rest of it. Did you ever see that film, The Siege of Jatoville?
Yes.
I do, but the Irish out there.
Morgan, everyone watch that film, The Siege of Jatoville. It's a true story. It's about an Irish, as an army, a few lads. Like I'll leave it there.
I met 3 of the soldiers who participated in that. I was in the army from 69 to 73. My drill sergeant was one of the people who was in Jadaville.
Jamie.
Yeah, and
it's a good film.
He served in the Congo. It's a very good film. Very good film.
Morgan, if you're interested in war, Morgan, watch that film, The Siege of Jadaville. It's on Netflix.
I'll put you in touch with a fellow Morgan tomorrow, which I forgot to tell you now.
Oh,
I'll tell you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Jerry Adams.
Jerry Adams. He's in talk now. He's fighting the BBC, isn't he?
He is.
The Big Boy Club.
The Big Boy
Club. And Jerry Harris, he's getting out soon, isn't he? Jerry Harris. I mean, I good at you, Jerry Harris.
Pat interviewed Jerry Adams in Irish for Radio Inverness. It was a radio.
Shinny, August. Well, what I was going to say, we had another interview.
Near media here, reporting from the Garden of Remembrance on the March today, and I'm here with Michael from Offaly. Welcome, Michael. How are you?
Good, yeah, yourself.
And you made your way up from Offaly.
I did.
Why are you here?
I'm here because what's happening to our country, and we're here to fight for my children and stand up for them because they won't have a future if we don't. They want us all to be afraid to come here or afraid to fight for our children. So I want my children to have the freedoms, at the very least, the freedoms I had growing up. If not more.
That's a fair point because and it's a commonality of the few interviews we did now that people are very concerned. They're not against everything, they're very concerned about the social policies and the direction that the government is bringing this country in without any reference to the people.
Yeah, 100%. And look, we have a huge combination between the mainstream media and the NGOs as well, that we're hand in hand with the establishment to try and cover up everything that's happening, cover up the crimes that are happening across the country, let on that everything's hunky-dory and it's only doctors and nurses and engineers that are coming in, and that all these, the majority of these people coming in, 92% of them are single males. They're not here to benefit our country in any manner. They're on welfare, they're going to continue to be on welfare, and most of them will never benefit us.
So, and you know, I probably would agree with you there as well, and a lot of them won't assimilate into our society and we can see, as they should.
No, and we can see that already throughout Europe. Look at Sweden. If you say to people there's no-go zones in Sweden, and there's actually 62 of them, if you say to people there's no-go zones, they'll say, oh no, that's wrong, and they'll bring up the fact-checkers, because they changed the name of them from no-go zones to vulnerable areas. So there's 62 vulnerable areas in Sweden, but they're actually no-go zones because criminal gangs have taken over, foreign criminal gangs that they brought into the country that didn't integrate into the society.
And of course the iPad centres are a bone of contention for our communities because there's very little consultation or information given to the local community so that they could prepare properly for people, you know.
Yeah, well, and even at that we wouldn't be able to prepare. There's not enough services in all the towns and villages around the country that they're putting these centres into. There's you know, doctors' waiting lists are huge, hospital waiting lists, look at them around the country. Like, there's over 1 million people in Ireland on hospital waiting lists in a country of 5 million. And they're thinking that adding any amount.
Well, that was just to give you a flavour of another person.
I know him.
Travelled from Offaly. I've seen him and
he's a good man.
I'd love to cut off that piece of fluffy on his chin. I'd give it and
put it here. Put it here.
What's the point of having something like that? That's a sign of vanity, having to get up every morning and to shave and to let the stupid thing in the middle. That's really
well, I wouldn't mind having vanity though. All I need is a lollipop.
Is that stopping you growing a beard if you want?
I have one there, and see here, the wife says to me, why don't you let your beard grow a small bit longer? It's nothing there. I said, around it grows more, it hurts me. I don't care. Just let it grow.
I'm the same. I just let it grow.
Yeah, but
I don't like it grown. I don't like it grown.
There were people, Neil, as well. You probably met them before. They were up from Rosslare and County Wexford because they had this protest there the evening last year about an iPad centre in Rosslare taking over, I a building that was scheduled to be a senior citizens' home. Do you remember that protest at down Rosshead Harbour?
Yeah, I think I remember it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And,
again, it's nothing. It's not. It's not. It's to do with the government should have. This should have all been planned out more. There should be more.
It's lack of planning.
Be more houses.
It's overloaded now. It's just way overloaded now. And you know, we seen a video the other day of a girl shutting her shop down in Dorset Street because they just keep looking into her shop, and there's machetes fighting outside, migrants fighting outside with machetes. They're getting bold and they're getting bored. And this is what happens.
They're getting bored, and you can't blame people coming.
No.
One, they're trying to adjust to the language. They're trying to adjust to food. They're into
culture.
Just to culture, and they know, you know, I mean, everyone, you know, I feel so sorry for anyone coming here, but you know, it's just at a stage. It's just at a stage now where you have to kind of say, if it was, you have to treat. I think a country has to be treated like a house, and if you have only enough food for yourself and your husband and your children, how can you say to people, keep coming in and you can eat the food? And my children
have to be external assistance. I mean, this is where, I mean, again, like countries like the US would provide lots of foreign aid, which they're now cutting off. It can't be handed. This is not a solution that can be created by one single country. It has to be created by countries working together. Ireland, if Ireland does not have the finances for it, it has to be able to work with other countries, and especially the wealthiest countries, like typically the United States, to help with these types of things.
Yes,
I think you're right that Ireland, if it doesn't have the finances to provide the social services, and it needs external help, or they have to work with other countries to help.
The state spent 1.43 billion on accommodation for asylum seekers and Ukrainian refugees in the first 9 months of 2024. Cape Rat Hotel Unlimited was highest recipient of state payments with funding of €52.7 million. Why couldn't the likes of that been for the likes of 15,400 type homeless or people in cars?
Well, that's a fair point. That's a fair point, Neil.
It's a fair point.
You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense.
Treat the country like a home. Look after the people that are here, including the immigrants that are here. And everybody has a job, and everyone has a home, and we're living nirvana in this country. And everyone has their home and their place and their job. Then look and say, we can invite people in. We need more doctors. We need more nurses. We need teachers. We need people in the sciences, and invite them in. But you can't just open it and say it's a free for all. We let you in. We haven't. Imagine opening your front door and letting the first stranger that came in.
That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. We're doing that. That's what we're doing.
If Morgan goes up to your door tomorrow and knocks it and says he wants to go in, will you let him in?
Morgan has a lovely, honest face.
God bless America. God bless America.
Morgan
Morgan, all you have to say to get a room in Ireland is make America great again.
When can I move in? When can I move in, Mary?
Make America great again. That's all you need to say.
Morgan, if you were to open your front door now and you had your family inside in it, and you barely had enough to eat, and suddenly there was 20 people invited into the sitting room to eat everything that was in there. I mean, of course, it's going to create animosity, and that's what happens. It's not the Irish that's against anyone coming in. We've always been a very welcoming country.
As I said at the start, we do need the tools and we do need the skills from migrants, and coming in here, we do need that. If we hadn't got that, we'd be in trouble.
The Australian system. We need the Australian system where they say, look, we need engineers, we need doctors, we need political scientists, we need whatever, teachers, and then you apply according to that. And they have a much bigger country than Ireland.
Yeah.
And it's just that it's all happened so quickly in this country.
Very, very quickly. Tourism has lost up to 1.1 billion due to asylum accommodation, says Fáilte Ireland.
Well, I know in County Clare where I live, the Chamber of Commerce are up in arms over lack of accommodation, lack of bed nights for tourism, and it's been affected very
nobody
badly.
spending in the small. There's nobody spending in the small shops, and the small shops are going are closed up by the and the government is dependent on the life of the.
Well, do you think that too much deference has been given to the tech companies, as opposed to prioritizing like small businesses and also the social services?
Yes, I was about to say that, Morgan. No, you're right, because when the Yahoos, the Facebooks, the Microsoft, when they're all here, they're giving them the corporation tax each year, which is big money. So they don't care about the small person. They really don't care about them. But if the American
There's
companies
plenty of money.
Home,
They seem to have plenty of money to give them, but when it comes to homeless or people, refugees, small businesses, they're cash.
They're all going down. Morgan, wait, let's tell you, I'm going away tomorrow. And I said the next time I go away, I'm going to do videos on towns. Myself and the wife go to different towns every now and again. And all the towns that we've gone to, there's no footfall on none of them. The footfall is gone in them. And I don't know how the shops are still opened.
Where are you going tomorrow?
Feather on Sea. We're going to Wexford.
Feather on Sea. Feather on Sea.
That's where the devil came in to play the game of cards. Do you know that?
Did he?
Yeah,
did he win?
Don't have Feather on Sea. You should know your history.
I don't know the history. We're staying in a place called the Bag and Bun anyway, across from Malloy's, the pub. But we normally travel around me, so.
That's where the Brits came in. They invaded the country at Bag and Bun. With Henry II, they come in at Bag and Bun.
I must look up the history, Tony. I must look it up.
Tony is a historian of somewhat fame. Where in the world? Who do you think you are?
I have no education. I left school at 14. I have no education.
You don't need to have education. Just because you left school doesn't mean you've no education.
I keep saying that to him.
He was going to school when she was 90.
Yeah, I left school when I was 15. I'm still a dope.
I got on the education bandwagon as a mature student, and I can't get off it. I can't get off that train. I'll be forever.
Did you ever listen to Charlie Kirk? There's no Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk, yeah.
I do. Yeah, I often watch his videos. Yeah.
Yeah, he never went to college. No, he never went to college, but I just think he's one in a million.
You know what I think when people say to Charlie Kirk, "Where did you go to college?" and he says, "I didn't go to college," and they look at him with absolute disdain.
He's one in a million. He's one in a million.
It's like as if he was off.
Well, the one thing you can learn in any level of education is common sense. You either have it or you don't have it. You know,
that's what I like about Trump. Common sense. He's banning all the males participating in the female sports. He's stopping all the males going into the toilets. Yeah, a woman now in Maine, wherever she is, she's going to court now because she won't.
Neil, I go to France every year lecturing in the Catholic University. Every single toilets inside there are men and women.
Yeah, but it's our culture. It's our culture. We don't allow it. We don't like it.
Well, you all hang out together, Neil.
But over there, men washing their hands or coming out of the cubicle, and you when you first go there, you get a shock, but you get used to it after a while. Seeing a man.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. But if someone's child is going in and there's a male man, that's the difference. Do you know what I mean? And there's something I'd love to talk about the next time as well. There's something that's always on my mind. Children, to me, are too clean. They've no immune system because they're too clean. I believe that.
You have to be exposed to certain bacteria. If you're not exposed to certain bacteria, there are protective bacteria for your skin and mouth and also for your gut as well.
What does he do for a living? Charlie Kirk, what you do for a living? Is he on one of them shit things?
He
lives off YouTube and all, doesn't he?
He has a YouTube channel.
And TikTok.
I never look at that. The country destroyed.
Tony,
he's very intelligent.
Tony, he is.
We never had it when I was a child.
Tony, look at him. Look at him.
He's almost single.
We have come to the end of the show.
But before you come to the end, Pat, before you come to the
Did
end.
you know there's a kindergarten in China that's nothing like the typical play and rest setup here? Kids as young as 3 and 4 handle tasks you'd expect from adults. They wash clothes, cook meals, and even clean up after themselves. Each child has their own mini outdoor stove, just their size, where they prepare their daily food afterward. They line up to wash dishes, then move on to weaving baskets, knitting scarves, or even sewing clothes on kid-sized sewing machines. They juice fresh fruits from start to finish, practice clay building, draw, make decorations, and solve puzzles. Girls can even try out hairstyling and makeup, giving them a head start as future stylists. This hands-on approach has kids eager to come every day, excited for what they'll tackle next. Would you let your child dive into such an interactive and skill-building kindergarten for more high-quality and interesting content? Subscribe me.
That's China, kindergarten in China, lads.
That just blows my mind when you think of the kindergartens here, and children are just left in and they're sitting around or playing. They're playing, basically. Whereas these children are learning a skill as well as playing. I had to silence Tony because he forgets that you can't.
Assembly line. Should be on an assembly line next month.
They're not they're all learning a skill that they enjoy learning.
So from Neil Murray, from Tony Browne, from Morgan Baker, from Mary Honan, and from myself, until we meet again next week, lads, thanks very much, and take care and have a good week. This is Rare Media. To whom it concerns, welcome to the panel.